Good morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. Who could complain on a day like today? Who could complain other than me for slightly sleeping in? So maybe you can complain about me sleeping in today. I didn't wake up till 6 a.m. Very rare for me. Very rare. So here you are, everyone. Thanks for your patience this morning. And all kinds of weird technical things this morning. Can't really explain how boring all of those are, but we're here. We're doing fine. Let's see what the folks are saying in the comments. Blessings, beautiful awakening, awakeners indeed, for which cause we faint not. But though our outward man perish, yet the inner man is renewed day by day. I was renewed by my good sleep. Honkies and crackers, indeed. Charlosky, cracka-ass crackers. Morning, CB. Morning. Good morning, Nolan and Great Awakening crew from San Francisco. Wow, I should be there pretty soon in San Francisco Jack 2K, so we love that place. Good morning, Countin crew. Crackers going deep in the... what's going on there? In the Mine Crumble area. Caution, Will Robinson. It's going to be a big show. I can feel it, says CB Van. You got it right. It's going to be a great one. It's another great day in the Bitcoin universe. Why is my feed crapping out on the Rumble end? Are you guys seeing that? Can you see me? Why is my screen dark on the broadcast, but not at all dark? I'm not getting any indication here that there's trouble. Oh, I get it. It's just my phone that's having trouble reading it. That should be okay. That should be fine. Vibes are vibrant. 10 inches of snow in the last 24 hours, not in the forecast. Experts. A lot of snow out there in Calgary. Trust the science, Lee J. Sagane Senkan Sank. Someone needs to write a novel about the City of London's design of modern Israel. I never read Michener's The Source, but Grok tells me it argues the opposite, unfortunately. I did read Michener's The Source. I don't really think it's that heavily focused on the creation per se of Israel. Michener's book begins with just a tell, like the archaeological sites, Tel Aviv. There's a bunch of tells. A tell is one of the archaeological sites. And so it just starts at a tell, and it's a story that goes, I think the first chapter is about like one of the domestication of dogs for the purposes of a saluki, in fact, for the purposes of getting honey. And it just goes through iterations and generations, as all Roland Michener books do. I don't really remember the Israel origin story part when it comes to political Israel, the secular nation we know as Israel. But it was focused in a kibbutz. So if that gives you any indication of how sort of kumbaya it is about Israel, but the kibbutzes are real, right? So I think it's more just about the type of government they ended up going for, and the kibbutzes. I don't really remember much about the political intrigue. I don't think London is even mentioned, if I remember. It's been 20-something years since I read the book, so hard for me to really cite it. And I was not even thinking about anything to do with London City back then, so it never registered. It's a good book, but not to learn about what's going on today, I don't think. Just a good book in terms of learning about the history of the area. Bitcoin YQR, good morning from the Canadian prairies, end of March 9th, and snowing. There you go. Good morning, early risers. Chef Zero and Amazon. There are 30,000 different kinds of insects, and a variety and adaptive behavior are fascinating. With just a fraction of the insects discovered. Chef Zero, at first I thought you were talking about the website, not the river. You are right. Where the hell is Nolan? I pay good money for this show, says Charlosky. Indeed. Tardy count. Yeah, tardy today. Breaking. We are live. Soap miner. I've already got 2 slabs of soap done, and Nolan is just getting out of bed. Gonna get my order out soon. Bring on JJ. Yeah, it was. I don't know why I slept in today. Sometimes it just happens. I don't ever set an alarm or anything like that. and everybody slept in. My kids slept in till like 7, which is really abnormal. I think it's because our time is coming to an end here. Do you know that I always sleep before travel a lot for some reason? I've noticed that for years. Before I moved to France for the first time when I was a college student, I probably slept for like a week straight before I left. And I remember saying, like, why am I so sleepy? I mean, I was a teenager, but or almost just out of being a teenager, but it's a strange phenomenon. Who knows? Indeed, we'll be leaving here in about 5 days. So that is the end of the broadcast studio south. Moving the studio north, there will be just a programming note. Definitely going to be at least one canceled show next week because I leave on Tuesday night and I will be in New York City for a couple of days. And so likely the first day, Wednesday, is going to be just too hard to get a show going. I suspect that with my last day here, travels, the goodbyes, it's a late arrival in New York City, 10 p.m. Get to the place, go to bed. I just can't imagine getting my setup going by that morning, and probably not going to have internet. So give me a day to figure out the internet. I'm going to try and do the broadcast on Thursday from New York City. I have an idea of where to do it. That should be pretty fun. So stay tuned, but I need to get that stuff organized. So likely no show next Wednesday. So remember that. But I'll remind you, of course. I will remind you all, indeed. John C919 says, have you read all Michener books? We enjoyed Centennial when we were about to move to Colorado. No, I haven't, but my dad did. And my dad was probably obsessed with the Michener books in the aughts from 2000 to 2010, I would imagine. So my dad, my whole life had a habit of describing in detail the books that he was reading to me. So I got the cliff notes on all of the Michener books. Texas was probably his favorite. Other than the source, he started with the source, which I read. That one was enough to convince me to read. And then over time, I read a few more of them, just, deep freeze, and I was home for a weekend or something, and I don't really want to go outside, bad weather. I would just pick up, he had a pretty big library, so I would go pop some books off of that, and usually the Michener ones because he had them all in a row. So I would go dabble in the Michener books. So I haven't read them all, but I'm aware of how many there are, and I'm aware of the story of most of them because, in the same way that I do the show every day, my dad was very similar in the way he would tell stories and, let's say, synthesize and condense some of these books. So that's most of my exposure to Michener was through him. So there you go. Now you know. Texas, my favorite too, as a youth growing up there. Yeah, I bet growing up there would be pretty great context for what was going on. I think my dad liked it because he just didn't understand how rich and dynamic and German-filled the history of Texas was. And my dad was a very proud German kind of guy. So any story that had like a German angle to it, he was right into it, right? He loved being German. Time for exclamatory walks, cussing at the trees. Bitcoin Deb. Hey, team, I slept in too, which is not normal for me. I know. What's going on? Nolan, we're finally got some warmth here in New England. Now we just need to plant some palm trees. Yeah, well, I'll bring those palm trees back. Don't worry. One of my favorite things are there's these palm trees on Lake Erie in Ontario, and people don't believe that there are palm trees in Canada. There's a couple palm trees in Canada, believe it or not. I visited them. There's like 10, and they're all on Lake Erie. People who don't know the greatness of Lake Erie are really missing out, by the way. Lake Erie is just one of the greatest places in the world. I love Lake Erie. You don't realize just how crystal clear it is compared to other lakes. I mean, Lake Ontario is compared to Lake Erie. I don't mind Lake Ontario. It's just a normal lake. It's not, nothing great or terrible about it. It's just dark water and kind of muddy. And But Lake Erie, boy, let me tell you, an amazing place. I've swam in not quite all. I've been to Lake Superior, but I haven't gone swimming in it because it was not the right time of year. But I've swam in Lake Michigan and Lake Erie many times, and Lake Ontario. Love the Great Lakes. I'm a big Great Lake maximalist. I'm a huge fan. So there you go. All right, everyone. As you noticed, we got some sunrise happening. I have a thin, weak coffee to drink because we have to go buy more coffee. So, but, you know, coffee's still pretty good. And I checked Bitcoin, everyone, is running. We're at 69,000 US trash tokens. So if you've got a strong coffee or you got a weak coffee, let's just drink it. Talk about what's new. I did manage to, sun is out in the UK. Amazing, Hell Stew. I did manage to get some good fake news stories lined up for you guys. So you're going to be happy about that. This first one that I have is from CBC, and I don't even have to say anything more. You know it's going to be good. If it's from the CBC, you know you're in high quality fake news territory. And this one's a gem. This one's a gem. Lots going on in Canada, right? But we got time for this. We got time for this. Experts say, everyone, experts say. Experts say Canada should track underwater noises in Arctic to help the marine life. This comes on the heels of Gavin Newsom's cross that they're building for hundreds of millions of dollars to make sure cougars can get into residential neighborhoods. That's a terrible thing if they're cut off by highways. So now they're going to get cougars delivered directly to neighborhoods at the cost of several $100 million. So as long as we're on the theme of spending all kinds of money to help all this wildlife, here we go. We got the new one. Scientists are monitoring how Cambridge Bay Nunavut is getting louder, guys. It's getting louder. It's too loud in Nunavut. I got some kites. Just put some kites up on the shore. It's all you need is some kites. From the thrum of ships to the roar of the all-terrain vehicles and aircraft in the skies, marine animals must now compete with the din created by humans. Guys, there's like 20,000 people up in Nunavut in Cambridge Bay, and they're so loud that the fish and the marine life are getting lost. They have to compete. The marine life was trying to have a conversation, and those pesky kites and other such things, ATVs. So these guys are after my own heart. This is it. I'm with the marine life in Cambridge Bay, Nunavut. Down with the noise. Down with it. Aircraft in the skies. ATVs, guys. They're competing, says the scientists. They're coming out of the water and they're saying, stop it, stop it. Stop the noise. You can't keep doing this to me. It's too loud. It's too loud. I'm with you, marine animals. I agree. Come and help me when you're done, marine animals. Come down here and you can turn kite warfare with me. You're asking, I see in the YouTube chat, they need an update on the kite wars. I got reinforcements coming. The fish from the Cambridge Bay and Nunavut are going to come and help me because they know solidarity for the people who want quiet skies. These poor fish. If you go to a rock concert with your friend and you're trying to speak with them, chances are you won't be able to share their message efficiently. It's the same. The fish were just saying that. They're here. They're destined to help me. Their ears are so attuned to the noise. Everyone knows what fish ears look like, right? Everybody knows that fish have these giant ears and they can't handle it. Whales too. It's the same for whales and belugas and narwhals. For example, animals that are mostly seen in the Arctic. They got a problem. They're trying to go to a concert. They just want to listen to whale music. Ocean Networks Canada is a non-profit with observatories that capture a wide range of sounds in the Arctic, including marine shipping, ice cracking, small fishing vessels. Come on. You know, you're out there filling up your car with gas. Don't you know you're making the world warmer? And the worst part of it all is that it's cracking the ice. Crackers. You want to know why all you white people are called crackers? It's because you're using too much electricity and it's cracking the ice, and the marine animals can't go to their concerts. It's too loud. It's too loud for them. The organization collects data using hydrophones, specialized microphones placed just beneath the surface of the water of the ice that can record the whistles of dolphins. Guys, you're depriving the dolphins from their whistling games. They're just trying to have a whistling game. They just want to whistle. Whistle while you work. Dolphins are not jerks. Calls on humpback whales, reverberations caused by ships, all the ships up there. Can you imagine the traffic up there? And now the Americans are heading to Greenland. What's that going to mean for the fish acoustics? It's all going to shit. The fish acoustics. We need it. And even the onshore sounds of all-terrain vehicles and snowboards. These guys better not read my book, the Satoshi Wedding Murderers, and find out what happens when they go up to the Arctic. There's a lot of noise up there in my book. It's going to be so loud. No kites. Those people are all killed in my future. They don't have them anymore. But there's a lot of other stuff going on, and it's pretty loud. So there you go. Under the waves, sea creatures are a surprisingly talkative bunch, guys. Animals underwater use sound to communicate with each other, says Philippe Blondel, a senior lecturer at the University of Bath's physics department. It can be, how are you doing? Do you have fish on your side? Stay close to your mommy because there's a shark coming. We've translated the dolphin language and they're telling us we're trying to go to a concert and it's so loud, right? That's what we know. It's the true story. We need regulations. The professor of physics says, Blondel says he hopes the data collected can be used to establish a framework of regulations to ensure the safety of marine creatures. He pointed to Europe. Of course, Europe's getting it right. Of course. They're so civilized in Europe. They know all about the troubles Greta told them. Greta says, guys, how dare you? How dare you make it so hard for the fish to have a concert? How dare you? Which include monitoring those from shipping, drilling, and dredging, among other activities. But what works for Europe's waters may not work for Canada. No way, right? The country should develop its own regulations. Now, we got to have many attempts at a regulatory regime to keep the ocean floor quiet. Multiple techniques. We're not at a place now where one size fits all, okay? Everyone needs their own specific type of regulation about seawater noise. You don't know. The surfers are making a different noise. I mean, case in point here in Barbados with the kites, right? You got the kites going right over the shoreline. They're right at the shoreline regularly, right? Those fish have separate problems, all right? It's fish racist to assume that all the fish from the global south have the same problems with noise as the fish from the global north. Okay, it's not the same. It's not the same. You got to change it. Underwater noise pollution doesn't just hurt animals. Oh, of course, guys. Here's the most important part, right? It also affects indigenous communities who rely on fish in the area. So not only are the fish disturbed, the natives, the aboriginals, the indigenous communities, they got to deal with annoyed fish. Annoyed, now, come on, physics, university professor of physics. We need to keep monitoring because as there are more ships, it's going to create more noise. And we have to say, wait, this is not sustainable. The noise levels in the sea are going to be too high. It's unsustainable, guys. They're all going to give up. The fish are going to say, shit, I'm not going to that part of the ocean anymore. Right? I noticed something. I noticed the noise. I'm not going there, right? It's going to be good for the environment, right? It's got to be good for the environment, for the animals. It can frighten some fish away so the local fishermen suddenly don't have any fish because the fish have moved away. I'm going to go fishing today and I'm going to tell everyone on the beach, shut the fuck up. I'm fishing. The fish are going to run away of all this noise. Quiet. Canada. It's a real story. It's real. It's true. Okay. We need to make sure the fish have a peaceful and quiet environment. Thank you, Canada. We needed that. We needed that. The next story is going to shock you, though, guys. The next story, prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. There's a heat wave in Malaysia. All right. Malaysia has a heat wave, and the experts there are warning of long-term health risks and heat stroke. They've never experienced, this must be new to them, a heat wave in Malaysia. Malaysia. Heat wave. Unprecedented. You guys want proof of climate change? I got it. Malaysia. But luckily, the experts are already on it, right? That we've spared some experts from the acoustic noise in the ocean and the Arctic. In Nunavut, population less than 20,000. All those ships, right? And we have a few experts left over to study the long-term health risks and heat stroke that comes from the current heat wave in Malaysia. I'll repeat, heat wave unprecedented in Malaysia. They don't know anything about it. It's brand new to them. They don't know anything about it. This is a great one too. Here we go. A way to tackle climate change and sovereign debt. In a world running fiscal and carbon deficits, debt for nature swaps can help alleviate the harms associated with the long-term challenges of both sovereign debt and climate change. There you go. The 5 biggest debt for nation swaps today. Look at this. That's what all you got to do. You just got to trade your debt. Okay, I have some nature, right? I have some nature, and I'm going to trade the nature for some debt. Right? But I also have some debt, and I'm going to trade the debt for a little bit of nature. It's easy. It's simple. It's simple. Easy peasy. Well, this is great. I don't want to burden you with all the bad news, right? This is good news. This is top news from the BBC. 2 women from different continents, right? But they've got the same problem with their farms. They've met and they've swapped. Wait a minute here. These 2 women, one from Northern Ireland, one from Rwanda, right? And they've swapped stories. Climate change cannot possibly survive this meeting. These 2 people have come together, and now they know that there's stories and things they have in common in very different worlds, but they're both experiencing the effects of climate change. And the 2 women have met and exchanged stories of extreme weather. All right, so they got together and they had some tea and they said, what's the weather like in Rwanda? And the Northern Irish farmer was like, wow, I can learn from that. And you know, what does that mean for your farm and my farm? And it doesn't matter. They have it figured out here. So now 2 women met, exchanged stories, game over, global warming people. Greta approved happiness story. Excellent. Yesterday, we were talking as well about the 485 million year temperature data that we have. Thank God we have 485 million years of temperature data about the temperature on Earth, the climate of Earth, 485 million years worth of data. And you're saying, well, wait a minute, Nolan, how's that possible? Humans weren't around 485 million years ago. It's easy, right? I told you yesterday about the mollusks and the tree rings and the crustaceans, right? And the ice cores and the fossils, right? All of that, right? But we got more. Ghost forests, guys. Ghost forests. That is another way to determine what the temperature was like thousands of years ago, sometimes millions of years ago. Right? It's not a forest. It's a ghost forest. You should see the data that comes from ghost forest. It's incredible. They could be the key. They could be the key. Rising sea levels are contributing to a phenomenon called ghost forests, which are groups of dead and dying stranded trees that have been drowned by intruding salt water. That's all you need to know, guys. You got it, right? And finally, why emotional resilience should be at the heart of climate change education, right? The mental health effects of climate change are receiving growing attention, including how children and young people are uniquely affected. Supporting young people to build and sustain good mental health and well-being and to feel prepared for life and work in an uncertain world, guys. Thank God the global warming people are trying to fix the emotional resilience that comes from telling people the world is about to end if they turn on their light switch past 8 o'clock and they don't pay attention to the fish acoustics. Thank God we finally have a focus on the mental health stories here. Wonderful news, everyone. Wonderful, wonderful news. So that's our NPC news for the day. That's what we got. That's what we got. Bitcoin Deb, dang, we were planning a trip to Malaysia to cool down. Black Snape will solve racism, young Tommy. I'm talking about Black Snape today. Don't worry, that's in my notes. The fish are pissed. Marine reconciliation coming. Those right-wing whales. Cracking ice. It's too loud. The cracking ice. No. Narwhals unite. It's true. Citadel Daniel, Superior, where I was in Marquette, was crystal clear. Yeah. I have some in Lake Superior, Erie, and Michigan. Yeah, those are great ones. Lake Ontario, soon to be Lake Ganges. Ugh, don't say that. Don't say that. That's depressing. All right. So we had another cool story. Yes, not in the NPC news, but we'll get into our main news for the day. This one here from, let me just get rid of this. The First Lady yesterday walking down into the White House summit on AI, technology, empowering children with educational technology. Here she is. Tell me if I'm wrong, but all I see when I look at this picture is Joe Biden. I mean, that's literally all I see. I can't see anything else. Was he regularly a robot? I mean, I don't know, but I don't. I mean, the walk that he does too is what a lot of people who are getting the sundowners walk like, right? They're not so stable on their feet, so they have this really weird gait. So it's definitely still possible that it's just old man walking, but pretty regularly the cadence and everything looks exactly like some of these robots. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Tell me what you guys think. It's hard to take them seriously, right? Yes, I'm not certain. So yeah, I can't really, I just find it funny. I wanted to share that with you before we get into some of our better fake news stories. All right, so let's go, into our real news stories, I should say. Real news, who knows? What do we have here? So let's go into some Iran updates. So it looks like the new Navy chief, another one of these military targets, is dead, I guess. So they say. So no direct confirmation. We're only getting reports, but I mean, it fits the mold. Definitely fits the mold. We also had Trump yesterday coming out with this note saying the following: the Iranian negotiators are very different and strange, he says. They are begging us to make a deal, which they should have been doing since they have the military obliterated. With zero chance of a comeback, and yet publicly state that they are only looking at our proposal. Wrong. They better get serious soon before it's too late, because once that happens, there is no turning back and it won't be pretty. So that's what Trump is saying. More negotiating from Trump. Here he is last night at a speech saying much the same.
Seen anything like we're doing in the Middle East with Iran? And they are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people. They're also afraid they'll be killed by us. There's never been a head of a country that wanted that job less than being the head of Iran. I don't want it. We listen to some of the things they say. We hear very clearly. They say, I don't want it. We'd like to make you the next supreme leader. No, thank you. I don't want it. But I want to express my gratitude to the tremendous, never seen anything like we're doing in the Middle East with Iran. And they
So it is still, difficult to get a beat on this war. It is a surreal war. Very difficult to get details, very difficult to get any kind of straight reporting. You were in 100% a psychological and propaganda war, and surreal in the sense that you've got to kind of triangulate constantly by looking at people, looking at what they say, looking at foreign data sources. I have this one from Cernovich, and I think he's got some interesting things to say. He says satellite imagery hasn't been updated for weeks by edict of U.S. government. Problem is, China and others have real-time data, so it's only Americans who are getting accurate information on national security grounds, even though, again, everyone else in the world can see. Don't ask me where can I see or source. If I wanted such nonsense and bickering, I would post to non-subscribers. The attacks on the bases have been far more damaging than is reported or talking about in any press conference. I hinted at this over a week ago. Everyone outside of the U.S. knew this as well. The New York Times is finally covering it. Now, I don't believe the New York Times about anything. And if the New York Times is covering something, it gives me the feeling like they're backwards. I'm not going to post links to foreign accounts for a lot of reasons, but I do read them and suss out what is the deep fake, what is foreign propaganda, and what is real. A lot of the damage is real. The public is not being informed of this. We aren't even having a real debate. And if you read the tea leaves from members of Congress, it's obvious that the ground troops are a done deal. They can't reveal what they are told in a classified briefing, but pay attention to what they're saying. I'm against a ground war. Why say this? Ask yourself that. Now, again, the idea of a ground war isn't exactly the same as an elite group of Marines, right? So the Marines entering a place is the opposite of a ground war. That is, now I get there's boots on the ground, so you can say the literal sentence, boots on the ground, and it's true. But if you're sending in Green Berets and these elite groups of Marines, they're not a ground force invasion. That's not what they do. They go in and surgically do missions. So you can send them in to hold a position after they take it, to take and hold a position. That's, again, not boots on the ground. They're not an invasion force. They're a force that operates under very strict parameters and orders, usually in complicated scenarios that have some defined objective, not just occupy country. So indeed, it is important. Democrats are refusing to vote on war powers resolution, even though they obviously support this. Everyone in DC does. They know what's coming and want to run against it. Obviously, I want us to win. I don't like that we are 2 weeks behind China RE satellite images. The Chinese are able to follow U.S. troop movements with more granularity than we can. Hence, it's not credible to claim this was done for national security reasons. And this is the important part, though. The PSYOPs are 360. Conservative media won't cover anything negative. Left-wing sites are directionally accurate, but they want Iran to win and shape their coverage to demoralize. Random foreigners whose countries don't censor the satellite images are decent for the big picture. So I'd say it's mostly true, but that still doesn't get to the heart of the issue. The heart of the issue can be found somewhere more in what he was talking about when it comes to unpacking the economic and incentive models, both China's actions, America's economic incentives, and just the markets in general. So here we see from the negotiation stuff that Trump was talking about, a flurry of mediation offers from Pakistan to Turkey. Will any of it actually work? This comes from Tanvi Ratna, who's been pretty good at following this. The Iranian foreign minister recently unloaded an insider details on negotiations on Witkoff, Kirchner, and shocking a parallel track between Iran and the Arab states. So I'll let you listen to some of that.
Maybe you need to know a piece of information that you didn't know. Parallel to our discussion and negotiation in Geneva with the United States, by which they were just attending with two, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, and no expert on nuclear, nuanced, complicated issue. And you have to ask why, when you are going to talk about such a nuanced issue, why they are coming with two and talking, staying 1, 2, or 3 hours, at most 7 hours. But anyway, they were a parallel, path, which was between Iran, Oman, Qatar, and the other countries in the Persian Gulf, to have an inclusive dialogue happening at the same time. The second one was not announced, but now I am revealing that. And Americans and Israelis just spoiled that. And we do believe that Israelis, because they knew it is happening, they rushed into dragging everybody into this war. Our friends in Oman knows that, and our friends in the GCC knows that. And we are very much sorry. The moment this atrocity stops, I think that this is the moment for the region to move on to a new security and inclusive arrangement.
And I mean, that's what we're seeing, right? The Iran war was the climax of all the major threads Trump started with tariffs. People asked on my tariff thread if the tariffs had worked. I said I'd wait until the process drew to a close. I believe we're now close to that conclusion. Indeed, here the Independence Day or Independence Week or whatever he called it, the tariff thing that he did last year. Just a second. And indeed, this is still the frame that I hold about this war and why it's different than any other war that we have experienced in our lifetime in the Middle East. Inevitably, I do predict that part of the deal will be America leaving all these bases. So people who say that American bases are all trashed, fine. I don't think we're ever occupying them again as Americans. I think we're done with the entire region. I think part of the Abraham Accords is to leave the region in charge of itself for its own security purposes. And the only reason why they couldn't do that before was because Iran represented a major problem in those Abraham Accords, and that they were not a part of it and had other motivations and had other incentives. So just one more second. There we go. Back. So here, Team Trump appears to be entering the final phase of the global rejig and entering into the next chapter, the U.S. domestic industry. Iran holds the key to their plans. On the surface, it is one war, but underneath it, I see it rejigging incentives across 11 different theaters. And that continues to be what I see. I've been telling you for a long time, the reason why Iran needed to be removed now from the equation is because Trump gets one more print at the Federal Reserve. There's one more opportunity to squeeze out something from this London cabal and all these financial tentacles that had ensnared America. And the subversion and submission of the Federal Reserve to the Treasury and the reemergence of the American model, the Hamiltonian Treasury as the engine of credible public debt and economic expansion. That whole idea, not Wall Street expansion, I'm talking about real economic expansion, as in energy-backed systems. And so that system that we see emerging has one kick at the can. You don't get multiple attempts to jump out of a building and stick the landing. You get one chance. We have one chance to jump out of the burning twin towers that are coming down from all of this trouble and catching on to one of these starships that's about to take off. We've got one chance. If you miss the landing, you burn up in the primed starship engines. You miss the starship, you hit the ground, you're toast, just like all those sad souls on 9/11. So we've got one chance to do this. It's not easy what Trump is attempting by any means, but either you leave the threat of Iran there, and then they could just pull economic sabotage over the summer, and Trump is truly fucked. So is America in that instance. This is a hastening of America's decline if it's not done correctly, if it's not done with these threats mitigated. Now, Ukraine is still part of the mix. We'll talk about them soon. But again, I see this as, just as Tanvi Ratna does here, I see this as the final phase of a global rejig and a re-coordination and rebalancing of economic and energy security. Kevin O'Leary, seeing it the same as me. Here he is yesterday on Fox talking about what the world looks like with Iran out of the mix, and I'll play this.
High oil and gas prices could outlast Trump's war with Iran, and goes on to say even if Mr. Trump were to broker an end to hostilities with Iran before his new self-imposed Friday deadline, it still might be weeks, if not months, before American families and businesses see a true break in their spiraling energy costs. But you talk to any financial analyst, and they'll say this market is so reactive, Kevin, that if they open the Strait of Hormuz in 15 minutes, in 30 minutes, the gas prices would drop.
Well, the markets look at it on a forward basis. Oil trades on a forward basis. We've got about 45 days worth of oil floating on the water right now. In order to really have a very difficult situation stateside, you'd need 90 days at above $90. We're only 1 month. And so the minute Hormuz is open, oil prices will drop to mid-70s, as they were prior to the conflict. The market will adjust immediately. It'll take about 2 weeks at the pump for it to drop. And that's what the market thinks is going to happen. However, there's a more optimistic tone. I mean, in the middle of war and a conflict, it's difficult to, try and separate these ideas, because who likes war? It's horrible, and you feel sorry for the people in Iran. But the policy coming out of this is what investors are looking at. So let's just go down the list of what's going to happen. Energy security policy in North America is going to get accelerated. That means probably Keystone, they'll call it a different pipeline name, that was an unpopular name, but some version of that will get built to bring more of the number one importer, that's Canadian oil, for security into Cushing. That's guaranteed. Number two, we're going to see a change in the tone of the region. It's the first time in 60 years you've heard Bahrain, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar all sing from the same song sheet, saying status quo doesn't work. That's really good for everybody, because that's a lot more trade into Asia. That's the hub. UAE is the hub of trade for that whole region. That'll be a great outcome for investors like me. And I don't want to make light of the war. I keep saying that, but I'm thinking ahead 90 days here, and I'm liking what I see. Not the war. I keep saying that. I don't need the headaches on social media, but you know what I'm saying in terms of long-term vision. Yeah. Third, which I find really, really intriguing, is no matter what happens, no enriched uranium, that's got to be found and taken out of the country. That'll be part of the deal. Hormuz will be open in perpetuity. We've got 22 nations talking about supporting that financially. That's just like the Suez or Panama Canal. Great for the region. It's a game changer in the sense that all of a sudden you have stability in the fastest growing part of the earth. It's very, very bullish for world markets. And again, I preface it, I don't like war, but you got to let this play out, because the big vision here is to finally stop this problem we've had for 60 years, and I really like that outcome.
And that's, again, what I see. We can analyze as much as you want what damage is happening to Israel, to American bases. There's a cost to pay for this, but we've got to bear it now, I think, because if things don't go the way I think people are planning over the summer, if we don't embrace the golden age now, we might not ever get there. And I actually believe we won't. That's my prediction. If we don't do full on golden age, the war is over. And I don't mean the stupid Iran war. I don't give a shit about that war compared to the wider economic war that we've all been, and psychological war that we've all been undergoing since World War I, at least, probably earlier, and acutely the psychological and economic war we've been experiencing since the financial crisis in 2008. I don't think we will be able to survive this. So I think this is the last chance we have. Now, you hear from a lot of the libertarians. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. You hear from a lot of the libertarians, I hope America loses now because Trump has betrayed us, and if we don't get someone else We're not going to be able. Let's let them fail in the midterms, and we'll have another chance. This is pure theater kid bullshit. All right, it's theater kid bullshit. It's not possible to do it that way. You're never getting back in power if this happens. We don't live in a democracy, and we haven't lived in a democracy since at least Kennedy was assassinated. You live in something like a hoaxocracy since then, and a fake newsocracy since then. And there simply will be no way to ever get back to the place we're in today. So the theater kid angle, for me, simply doesn't work. And that's why you get a lot of these theater kids coming around, right? You see all of this stuff here. Adam Townsend saying, once again, the only thing keeping the mullah regime in power is Western media and the fake as fuck NGO-ish crackers and bow-tied clowns like Tucker trying to keep the forever war forever. Now, I told you the minute Tucker did his speech in November or December about Bitcoin, that when he said, oh, the CIA, I come from the CIA, my family comes from the CIA, I know a thing or two about that. I told you, go back and check the tape from December 15th, something like that. I said, Tucker might be playing a role here, but we got to pay attention to what is happening. If he's coming out against Bitcoin in this way, something else is going on that I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's evil or good or altruistic or sacrificial. I have no idea what it is. I can't know. There's no way to understand what he's thinking, and I can't mind read him. But I noticed right away game had entered the equation more than we had seen. You weren't getting an unfiltered Tucker Carlson point of view. Go back to December, whatever, 15, 16, when that happened. And he was at a Turning Point USA event. And that's what he said. And so from that moment on, I said, pay very close attention to what is going on here. And we have. Now, again, I don't know what the point of the op is. I don't know who's paying him, why. If he's getting paid, it might not be about pay at all, right? Maybe he's trying to induce an outcome. We just don't know. But the upshot of it is we've got this psychological operation, and you can see it. Here's Adam Townsend pointing out again. Just look at Joe Kent's feed these days, right? It's literally just podcast stuff. It's just podcasts. It's just him on podcasts, podcast, up and down, podcast. So, and now also remember, right? All of this stuff that we now learned about him with the Charlie Kirk assassination and its relation to Max Blumenthal, of course. Now, you got to realize who this Max Blumenthal guy is. He's the one who is involved. I think he's the employer of his wife. Max Blumenthal, of course, part of the same Glenn Greenwald, Tucker Carlson, part of this. All this division goes back to the original Iranian war. Tucker was already on that side. And if you remember what Tucker and Glenn Greenwald and all of those guys were talking about, it's always this sort of half opinion. It's they're bad and we're lying and Iran was never a threat and they're not really capable of doing all these things. Well, they are capable of fucking over the oil markets. They are capable of affecting American domestic policy because all America really cares about in the end are gas prices and the economy. I've said many times that one of the things that sets Americans apart in all of this great game, global war, global foreign policy, all this stuff, the one thing that separates America drastically from the rest of the world is it's a sport for us because of the continent, because of the natural security that we have from the entire North and South American isolation from the rest of the world. We're not even 1 billion people on both continents combined in the Americas. And so we've got nothing but resources, space, everything you need to live in the golden age now, today, immediately. The only thing that can affect us is global energy tomfoolery and global financial market mischief, because those are the things that we're tied into and those are the things that it can expose us. We don't technically need to have any of this exposure. We just have baked it into the cake, and so we have it. So that's what you have to change, and that's why the PSYOP component to the psychological and economic war is so powerful. So you see all of this stuff going on, and it's very obvious that we're involved in this. And you can see here's Dugin, who's a big part of that whole cabal. Hold on a second here. I got to close a few more pages. I don't know why I'm getting stupid Apple computer shit. One second. Force quit applications, too much stuff being used. What a scam. Scam. So going back to this Dugin thing. So Dugin was one of the people involved in a lot of this. People call him one of the main fountainheads of this worldview. And he comes out yesterday and says, it seems the Zionists set Trump up very seriously. They are the real reason behind all of his failures, from Epstein to Iran. Anna says here, now I get why he speaks exclusively in mystical bullshit, because when he sets himself to say something concrete, it's just village idiot Epstein slop. And again, what my prediction is on this is you're going to see Trump absolutely pivot back towards Epstein stuff. And you're seeing the propaganda from Iran try to embrace that, right? Here's this missile propaganda that everyone was talking about yesterday. Holy shit, Iran just released this video. What are we supposed to think about this? Big Surge says here, Iran presenting its war as vengeance for Native American expropriation on Epstein Island is just more proof of America's total cultural dominance. Iran has no political ethos that it can project outwardly. It has to filter itself through fringe American lenses. And of course, their ball, apparently we all honor ball in America because someone said Epstein and Israel stuff here. You see it again. Another piece of another masterpiece by Iran, they say. Captive Dreamer says, this seems to be the endpoint of libertarianism in 2026, just openly LARPing up Iranian propaganda. Well, of course they do. Again, I'll go back to what is going on anyway. I have no problem with libertarian ideals. I share every goal with libertarians. I want the same world they want to get to. But it is the absolute height of theater kid nonsense to think that real politics can be ignored and that we can just do sing-song and get to where we're going. And while they fall for all of this stuff, you got to realize that because it's not real, in the sense that libertarianism is just an excuse to talk about what your feelings are about politics. They ignore the real politic. There are real things happening in politics. People will say, the government having guns. Well, guess what, right? If you give everybody guns in the Second Amendment, we don't have the mothers and fathers and family infrastructure to make it so that we can trust everybody with a gun. We live in a violent, fucked up place filled with broken families and crazy shit. And if you don't have any way to fight against that, then you're just leaving everyone subject to the craziest people with the most guns. And that's not really what we want out of the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment had nothing to do with letting a bunch of completely insane, poorly raised, fucked up people to have guns to go around and terrorize people. That's not what they had in mind. What they had in mind was a responsible culture with economic potential, with economic, a strong economy, agrarian economy, strong families, and them having guns and not having a powerful government because it wasn't needed. There's a real politic to this, and that's the problem with the theater kids, is that they simply don't acknowledge that there is a step between getting to their goals, where we want to be, where all of these libertarians want to be, and where we really are. And you can't wish and hope that away. So when libertarians come out and say, it's better if we do it like this, and this is the right way, and this is what I want to do, it's a kissing cousin to liberalism. It's not real. It's just performative. It's just you getting a platform to talk about how great your ideas are and how they will solve world problems. That's what makes them theater kids. That's why a lot of theater kids are libertarians, because it's like privacy in Bitcoin. Guess what, guys? You're not going to get it from nagging people. Nagging people doesn't work to even get them into Bitcoin in the first place. You think nagging is going to get people to value privacy? We don't give a shit about privacy because it ain't worth nothing anymore. if you would make it valuable, if you'd make it worth something, if you'd show the costs and the benefits, if people could experience those, and you would have incentives towards privacy, then you'd have more privacy. But we don't have that system. We have a system that rewards people sharing their dog's name and their mom's maiden name and signing up for this and scan your face for that, get some dopamine. So you have all of these potential avenues that could work, but instead we go with the nagging. You got to be better at privacy. It's the same as this shit. It's not real. It can't be real because it ignores human failings. It ignores human incentives. It ignores how we are. That's what makes Satoshi's invention so brilliant, is that Satoshi said, I'm just going to gamify people's self-interest and greed, and it will motivate people into doing things, incentivize people into doing things that will create a much better economic system. That's it. He takes humans for how they are and who they are. Same way that Jesus did, right? You're all born sinners. None of you can handle libertarianism today. You can't. Just like you couldn't handle privacy today because you want to see the cat video. You're not capable. I'm not capable. I've admitted it to you guys many times. If there's something behind some sign-up wall, guess what I do? My stupid phone is a face scan. Oh, by the way, I had the craziest scam tried to be pulled on me yesterday. You wouldn't believe how good it's getting out there. An old friend of mine reached out to me on Telegram and said, hey, I haven't seen you in a long time. Let's chat. And so I said, okay, like, great. This is a person that does events and a PR person and all that stuff. I said, okay, great. You know, I'm looking for a client for a few events this year. Seemed perfect, right? So they send me Microsoft Teams meetup. First of all, I'm like, what? Microsoft Teams? Who the hell in Bitcoin uses that? So then it comes, and then I see on the screen Jason Fang from Sora Ventures. I've known him for years. We hung out in the old Decentral days. He used to work for Pantera when they were the original sort of hedge fund and investment vehicle in early Bitcoin. I probably 2015. I've known Jason Fang from then. And he used to come to our Decentral spot where we had the ATM for Bitcoin in Toronto. I met him many times in Asia, New York, all over the place. So he was on the call. I could see him on the call. But then you get this thing, which is a prompt that you have to update your software to join the call. And right away, I was like, wait a minute. And then I could see that the Microsoft Live or whatever was spelt wrong. And so I said, scam, can you believe it? And they were like waving. They were real on the screens. It was like the Microsoft team Windows, and then it was them there. So I said, okay, I'm not downloading this fucking thing. And so I sent them a Google link saying, it's making me download shit. I don't want to do it. Here, take the Google Meet. And then they can't sign up. And then, I got to get my stuff together. Let's come tomorrow. Let's reschedule. So I was like, let's try one more time. I said, here's Zoom if you can't get on. And they were saying that I wasn't letting them in the room, even though they were signing on and trying to come in the room, but they weren't able to get organized quick enough. And so, but then right away I hang up, and I'm sure it's a scam. So I reach out to both Jason Fang and this other girl, and I say, were you just in a call with me? And they're obviously no. So, I mean, just to show you, and it was them on the call. I'm telling you, it was them. It was them. And whatever software I was about to download was going to alter my Google, whatever, passwords and all that stuff. So can you believe it? How bad this stuff is getting? It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, it was. So I fell for that one last year, the same time Lawrence Lepard fell for it, which is when I just joined Roxham, Bloomberg reached out to me for interview, and normal for me, and it's like catnip, right? Media, we love it. Let's get on shows, right? Great. And we do the whole interview, and then they say, can you I forget what it was, but it was like, press OK and download. It wasn't even a download. It was just like OK, and I think they take control of your Google that you're using. And so the minute I get off the call after, bang, 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 I see accounts starting to try to open, and I'm getting the alerts, the 2FA things, and I'm like, oh, fuck. So luckily nothing I had nothing exposed and any of that, but I had to completely wipe my computer, start over, because I didn't know where the virus was. So I learned my lesson. They got Nick Carter on the same not long after. I shared the story when it happened, and so did Lawrence, and so did Nick Carter. But man, are they getting sophisticated. So, you know, you got to make some, you got to find your own ways to tell what's going on, because it ain't good. Ain't good at all. Anyway, there you go. Now, the good news is, right, we're in this world of psychological operations. We're seeing these Epstein style, Trump is compromised. Speaking of the devil, I just got a software update demand on this computer. What the hell? Give me a second. Let's see if I have any suspicious things going on. I think it was just a normal Apple software update, though. It should be okay. Should be okay. So, actually, let me just check one more time to make sure I know what I'm talking about here. Okay, it's a normal system update. I didn't like the timing of that. Right when I'm telling the story, I get a note saying software update. So don't like that. All right. So the good news is that we are in this Psy war, and the Psy war has all these participants in it, right? And you can't really tell what is going on so much, but you can pierce through the veil by looking at economic incentives, by looking at the flow of commercial relationships. But the other good news is, of course, Trump is operating on an elite Psy world, a Psy op level. We had a few amazing instances yesterday. So the White House released 2 videos last night. The first one here was kind of cryptic. Both of them are cryptic, but here's the first one. I'll play it for you. So some people say Caroline Levitt saying it's launching soon, right? The White House posted this at 1 a.m., then tried to erase it. They didn't try to erase it. They erased it. So hustle, bitch. They didn't try. They did. Watch both clips carefully. There's another one right after, and that's what this is what the other one looks like. Let me get the other one. The other one was this from the White House. So another one of those dings, the emergency broadcast system. And so the people went about analyzing these. They were able to get the flash screen for 1 second in here, and it was this American flag. But it's a vertical striped flag, so it's a different flag. So all of these messages, right, the White House is sending out coded messages meant to be decoded by AI. You see those long multicolored strips? That's the visual representation of a video squished like in your video editor. They are passing on information. A lot of people believed as well that the flag in it was this one here, that this flag here was one of the 9/11 flags, the one that came between the images. So what did I tell you was going to happen once the Iran war ended? I've been telling you for how many weeks now, since the Iran war started at least, that once the Iran war was over, we would pivot back to Epstein files and the like, and get back into those storylines and those narratives. Is this related to that? I don't know. This might have just been advertising for the emergency broadcast system, because when the video came out, it said text this number 45470 or something, and then you get updates directly from the White House. It's a new emergency response system. So it's probably just them using their very powerful knowledge of the media to get people to break it down and to create news around the emergency broadcast codes. So if you text that number, you will get the emergency broadcast stuff from the White House directly without any middlemen. So it could have just been that, right? That could be the reason why it was done. I'm not exactly sure, but you don't need to know. What you need to know, though, is that the participants in this Psy war, and in the case of Trump, are likely the best in the world. There's probably no one better at him than this. And you can see some proof of that. Here's this retired French general, right, talking about what's going on with Iran, saying, retired French general reminds the West of Iran's ancient civilization. He says, Ali Larijani wrote 3 books on Kant. I haven't read anything by Netanyahu or Trump, he says, right? Meanwhile, this book here is literally more important for understanding the course of world events than the critique of pure reason, the groundwork for metaphysics of morals, or anything else by the Virgin of Königsberg ever wrote. And so I will bring up this image here. I got to send this out later. But let me get my downloads to share it with you. Did I not put that? What? Oh, there it is. Yes. I knew I saved it. I don't know why I'm all over the place. All right. So let me take this down. I put this up yesterday. I'll probably tweet it out today. I made it very quickly yesterday. But this is kind of what I think is going on. And so here, using this meme template, Satoshi invents Bitcoin. Here, let me fix the dimensions too a little bit. Fix it. Satoshi invents Bitcoin during 2008 financial crisis. Wall Street and energy grids love it as best performing asset and grid stabilizer for over 15 years. A wrestling Hall of Famer becomes U.S. president on a Bitcoin ticket. The U.S. president uses kayfabe to destroy fiat bank cabal with energy grid-backed economic system. Patriots know that Vince McMahon might be the guy who destroyed the entire Rothschild banking cabal. It might actually be him. It's that book, Art of the Deal, again, that I think anyway had a role to play in it. And you can start to see that the Epstein files piece and my prediction that it's coming back into the news, based on what we're seeing. It looks like Lynn Forrester de Rothschild here has now sold her stake in The Economist. So that's big change. Here you've got Rep. Luna again bringing things back to the Epstein files. Here she is on Jesse Waters last night saying much the same. So again, this is my prediction that you're headed right back to Epstein files shortly.
One of the gate guards who also, during the initial investigations, law enforcement and the DOJ never followed up on was Tova Noel, who actually was the gate guard. And even days prior to Jeffrey Epstein's alleged suicide, she actually received $5,000 in cash and deposited it into her bank account. And that was never anything that was followed up regarding questioning. And so Chairman Comer asked her to come in. She refused to comply. And so he'll be having to issue a subpoena. I also had spoken with the chairman, and under protection in my official capacity, I actually named 4 women specifically that were given plea deals under the initial, I guess, proceedings in New York, or excuse me, the second proceedings in New York, where they testified against Ghislaine and Jeffrey. But those women, in my opinion, were complicit within the trafficking and should be looked at as potentially charged for human rights violations and civil rights statutes. And so he'll be calling them in to testify. But again, Bill Gates will be also coming in. And I just think that this entire thing, when you look at really the totality of what we have facts on hand, again, Fox News reported on this when we found out about it over a year and a half ago, but under the former deputy director of the FBI, allegedly there was destruction of evidence. And as you saw, there was never a complete actual investigation done on this. So I think that at best we're still dealing with partial facts here.
Right. We say destruction of evidence. Was that an inside job? Was that a hack? Refresh my memory.
Well, so there was a hack that took place, and that was separate from the alleged destruction of evidence. The alleged destruction of evidence took place under, again, the former deputy director of the FBI. And I do believe that that was an inside job. And I say that because if you look at how this entire case was handled from the beginning, you can see, and you can talk to the victims, that it did appear that, A, powerful people were given special treatment, but also, 2, that as soon as they could, Democrats, knowing that Jeffrey Epstein did have a close connection and proximity to the Clintons, et cetera, it was not in their invested interest at releasing any of this information, which is why they had actually worked against the victims in actually giving them the information. And so, look, this is information that I documented early on. I passed this information to the FBI. And again, you know, you see that there was a massive hack done as well on the New York station, where allegedly terabytes or massive amounts of information were deleted. So that's a problem, right?
Yeah, tell me the name of the deputy FBI director again, who allegedly oversaw the destruction.
It was the former deputy director of the FBI under President Biden. Offhand, yeah.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much, Anna Paulina Luna. Keep us.
So far, my framework fitting. Looks like we're headed back to Epstein files news. Looks like that whole game is going. And speaking of games, let's hear from Susan Kokinda again, because the only way to understand any of this stuff is these economic incentives. You're not going to get anything from video. You're not going to get anything from foreign satellites, from online doomsday predictors, not even from overly optimistic people as well. I don't want to cheer on any war. That's not what I think is in the interest of anyone. However, you have to look at the benefits of the war. And the benefits of the war, I think, are that they are exposing the financial relationships that made the world go round. They're exposing the financial relationships that are bubbling up to the surface and becoming apparent to all of us. And so, again, when you look at this war in Iran and don't recognize the European role in it, and you don't, and ignore what's going on with Zelensky and Russia and all of these things, then you're not really getting to the bottom of the war. The war is all of these financial incentives. It is all of these economic relationships. And those are all being pressed to the surface again, which is why this war feels like 2020 all over again. Those instances, like when Kennedy was killed, like the financial crisis in 2008, like the COVID dilemma, like the situation we find ourselves in. These are moments when this Leviathan, this monster, has to breach the surface and become visible in order for it to survive. It's never been more obvious than the 2020 stolen election. That was the moment at which the masks were off. You could see exactly what kind of a system we were living in. It had nothing to do with democracy. And again, that's where the libertarians get lost in all of this. They don't live in democracy. That's not what's happening. We're not like a couple of nags away from living in a place where you can be completely living in this libertarian utopia. One day we can get there, and I think we're well on our way, actually. But getting rid of all of this tomfoolery and mischief that's been going on is the key, and most of it was coming out of this London city. That's why I keep going back to this Promethean action worldview. I think it explains a lot of the relationships in a way that doesn't require hallucination, that doesn't require adding information. These Promethean action videos I find useful because there's no extra information added. She's just putting pieces in place. She's not hallucinating. She's not mind reading anybody. She's looking at what people are doing vis-a-vis various situations and giving you a bit of an idea of incentives about why some of this stuff fits together and how it fits together. So here she is describing what exactly is going on with UK, NATO, and everything to do with Iran.
Europe and Britain irrelevant at this table because their own policies have collapsed their economies and have stripped them of any leverage. That was noted with not a little bit of irony by Kirill Dmitriev, the head of Russia's Sovereign Wealth Fund and one of Putin's chief interlocutors with the United States. Here's how he put it. Europe can finally enjoy the success of both its green and Russophobic agendas. No oil, no gas. This is not a taunt. That's a statement of physical fact, which even the Telegraph admitted with the headline, Europe facing fuel shortage within days, warns Shell boss. The EU built its entire post-Russia energy strategy on the assumption that Gulf LNG would always flow because the City of London had always managed those checkpoints, just enough to let Europe's green fantasy be semi-functional. That assumption is gone. And here's what makes this the empire's worst nightmare. It's not just that the strait is disrupted. It's that there are now two energy superpowers who have decisively broken from the green agenda and the rules-based order, and they're not shy about it. Here's Donald Trump this week posting the numbers on American dominance in fossil fuel production thanks to his policies. First, in terms of oil production, then in terms of natural gas production, again, all as a result of his policies. And here's Dmitriev posting Russia's dominance across all natural resources. Think about that. The United States and Russia simultaneously flexing their sovereign energy power in the same week, while Europe scrambles. No longer playing by free trade rules, no longer deferring to green energy mandates. Sovereign nations acting like sovereign nations. So what did Europe do this week when faced with all of this? They blinked. Twice. The European Union, which has been slow walking a $750 billion LNG deal with the United States for months, suddenly fast-tracked it for a vote this Thursday. And then, quietly, with almost no fanfare, Brussels pulled its scheduled April 15th vote to permanently ban Russian oil imports, citing current geopolitical developments. They haven't put that back on the agenda yet. What that means in plain English, they can no longer afford the ideology. Dmitriev said it best. Green agenda, Russophobia, no oil, no gas, no seat at the table. And nowhere is that loss of a seat at the table more visible than in the situation facing Ukraine. Because the patron Zelensky has always counted on is Europe, and in particular Britain. And Europe just spent this week proving it has nothing left to offer. The New York Times, of all places, captured Zelensky's predicament with this headline. Zelensky sends negotiators to the United States, hoping to revive peace talks. But catch the subhead. The Ukrainian president has said he has a very bad feeling about the effects of the Iran conflict on Ukraine's own war. The week before dispatching his team to Washington, though, Zelensky himself went to London to try and shore up support from his main sponsor. The Telegraph called it his Don't Forget About Me tour. While in London, Zelensky met with King Charles for an unprecedented fifth time and addressed the British Parliament in person for the second time. That's Zelensky working his British relationship as hard as he can because London is the patron he knows. But here's the problem. Britain has no energy cards left to play, Starmer can sign defense declarations and talk about not losing sight of Ukraine, but he cannot supply what Trump's New World configuration runs on, which is oil, gas, and physical economic leverage. He doesn't have it. Zelensky's very bad feeling is well-founded. The war in Iran is not a distraction from Ukraine's situation. It's a clarifying lens of a new strategic geometry. The energy and economic framework that sustained the British-directed proxy in Ukraine is being dismantled in real time. Europe can't fund it, Britain can't underwrite it. The United States has moved on to a much bigger stage of history. So look at the map. The players shaping the new Middle East are Pakistan, the Gulf states, Egypt, Turkey, sovereign nations engaging with the United States administration that deals in physical reality, not imperial management. Europe is screaming for the energy it spent years sabotaging its own access to. And Ukraine's most powerful patron is a country which is pretty much out of cards. They said Trump had no strategy. The map says otherwise.
And this is what I'm seeing. I mean, even look at Keir Starmer today. Putin is rubbing his hands at the war in the Middle East because he thinks higher oil prices will let him line his pockets. I will always defend British interests at home, which is why we are taking action against Russia's shadow fleet today. It ain't going to work here. And then you've got Zelensky coming out, of course. U.S. is reportedly tying security guarantees for Ukraine to Kiev, giving up all of the Donbass. The fake news is trying to say that. And that's what is going to happen. They're not going to get anything. Here, Reuters saying the U.S. has made its offer of security guarantees needed for a peace deal in Ukraine conditional on Kiev ceding all of the country's eastern region of Donbass to Russia. No one feels any sympathy for him. Meanwhile, Hungary halts gas to Ukraine over blocked Russian oil pipeline. So that whole feud is coming to a head. That's why Ukraine is now targeting Russian oil. This happened a couple days ago. So we're not out of the woods, right? These are the types of desperate moves that this city and the whole London failure could induce. I mean, this is bad stuff. This is as bad as lighting the Persian Gulf on fire in order to stick it to Trump and all of that. So here, I mean, there's still, like I said, this is not a done deal, and we still have escalatory things that can happen. But again, the madness of some of these folks and the weakness of some of these folks also has to be underlined. If you look at what's going on in Russia and Ukraine and their allies in the UK, I mean, would you put money on Keir Starmer and Mark Carney and even this failed City of London situation to do anything but degenerate, awful things like this? This is probably all they have left. Because any other part is just straight up crazy, right? We see these stories here. And this is the problem with America. Mark Levin, this is truly insane. It's about the story about the Denmark plan to blow up Greenland runways if the U.S. invaded, saying we're not making America great if we do all this stuff. But again, this is the theater kid thing. No one who believes the United States would have annexed Greenland by force belongs anywhere near power. Complete inability to understand reality. The fact that this was what the Europeans thought was going to happen should set off alarm bells. They're too stupid. They're just literally too stupid to understand what is going on. And look what it did to the Danish leader. Danish left bloc prime minister lost that election. Now she's had to quit, right? So she quit yesterday. So calling a snap election because Orange Man bad doesn't look like all that great of an idea in hindsight, I guess. Her voters didn't have the same concerns as those she was so hard trying to impress. They are not the same people. And look at the fake news try and describe what happened to her, right? New York Times says, after standing up to Trump over Greenland, Denmark's prime minister leads in election. So that was a couple days ago. But then right after, Danish PM who opposed Trump on Greenland resigns after election failure. Regulars know that for years I have stated that the problem with too many people in positions of power and influence is that they get most of their news directly or derived from the New York Times. If you're trying to understand what happened in the Danish election, you sure as hell won't be going to the New York Times. Even CNN is more reliable, and indeed, that's what we're seeing. And so look at how weak these places are, right? This is what's going on in New Zealand for following these energy policies. Arden ran New Zealand. That's that Jacinta, the buck-toothed, retarded, donkey-looking woman. Arden ran New Zealand into the ground, then pieced out to live in Australia so she wouldn't live as a private citizen and have to face any of the results of her own disastrous policies as prime minister. Completely shameless. Apparently they have 3 weeks left of oil in New Zealand. Not pretty at all. Then you see Claudia Sheinbaum here in Mexico, seeing that they're now, can't even be considered anything like a democracy. But who cares? What's a democracy these days? The country is now considered an electoral autocracy. The factors that led to this conclusion were the concentration of power, the subjugation of institutions, and the destruction of democratic checks and balances, all disguised as the will of the people. Democracy has collapsed in Mexico. It's coming to England too with all this weakness. This was a story that got everyone's attention yesterday. The installing of the new Archbishop of Canterbury. Everything wrong with the Church of England in one paragraph. The Dean of Canterbury, a homosexual in a civil partnership with another man, installing the fake archbishopess on St. Augustine's chair as a gaggle of female clergy watch on. No wonder the Church of England is dying. The hierarchy is completely sold out to the world, the flesh and the devil. The feminist takeover is total. The full autopsy is now complete. Here, John Kurtz, the monarchy must know that it's entering the endgame. The Church of England, the House of Lords, all going quietly into the night. The House of Windsor won't have the strength or vision to reverse the tide. Been passive for too long. Interesting to imagine them fighting, though. Well, we'll see. This guy's probably the only one who can do the fight. And Peachy Keenan yesterday, as he's watching this abomination, says their grim faces say it all. They know the party is over, and indeed it looks like the party is indeed over. Can't imagine this turning around at all, which is again why here go back to this whole concept of libertarianism and what's going on. Balaji, libertarianism in theory requires Lee Kuan Wu in practice. Order and borders are prerequisites for liberty and prosperity. Tolerance and internationalism enables trade and capitalism. Bum Ba Dum says, I have a genuine feeling that within my lifetime, we will see the wholesale abandonment of universal suffrage and democracy as we know it. We're already seeing the consolidation of American governance to the executive at the federal level. Likely other nations will follow suit of Singapore, El Salvador, and China. Nobody wants to admit it yet, but fascism won the 20th century. It just rebranded itself. I think that's true. I think that's exactly what we're seeing and exactly why things are moving in the direction they are. World is changing very, very quickly along those lines. But again, go back to the incentives, go back to the drama, go back to the theater, go back to the kayfabe and how important it is. And again, here we see U.S. crude imports from Venezuela jump to their highest since 2019. Wow, Trump is really lucky to have regime changed that hostile neighbor who held all that oil just before going to war with Iran. Real lucky. Just a lucky move. And we see California coming back online. Here's Laura Ingraham yesterday in California. California sitting on 600 million barrels of oil locked up for over a decade of Dem stupidity. Platform Harmony is now pumping 60,000 barrels a day. Jobs flooding back after 11 years. This is in California. So the energy piece is what is most important. And because of that, you're seeing this rejuvenation and this re-energizing, literally and figuratively, of America. And you're seeing the optimism and the economic capacity is probably the only way out of this quagmire that we're in. The only way to shirk off all of this nihilism and this depression that America and Europe are experiencing is winning. The only way is winning is having a powerful commercial and economic engine And that's why we're swapping out the old engine for a new one, because this thing has to move a lot faster. And that's why Nick Shirley here meeting with Elon Musk yesterday saying strong men must be ready to stand up. Because indeed, it is that kind of optimism. It is that kind of skill set that'll make it. So watch this image here and everything Nick Shirley's been doing to root out all this stuff. And then you can see the op very clearly. Here's Candace Owens yesterday talking about what a scammer Nick Shirley is. So Nick
happened to find myself on top of Brazil's largest favela in a destroyed house, interviewing gang members of one of the largest gangs in Brazil.
Okay, I'm just gonna say I don't believe that at all. I'm sorry. I just, it's so stupid. I'm not even gonna tell you why I don't believe it. It's like if you don't know that that's stupid, that he infiltrated the gang in 48 hours. It's just, that's so dumb. I'm so tired of dumb. That's not how that works, okay? You don't just go up to gangs on the street as a nice-looking white boy with a camera and say, hey, I just wanted to sort of see what you're doing here. What's going on?
You can do that.
That's just stop. That's stupid. Of course.
It's not. It's not. So, of course, ad hominem, right? Ad hominem. They go with the ad hominem instead. So there you go. Now, meanwhile, all this fraud is going to be one of the cards that Trump controls, as I've been saying, on the way into this summer season and everything that's happening with the all the kayfabe, all of the narrative focus. It's all going to go into what an incredulous government system and bureaucratic system we have. Senate confirms DOJ's new war on fraud. Prosecutor Colin McDonald with VP Vance's backing. Trump will also be changing the census. That's going to cause a lot of trouble for people because they're not going to be counting illegal aliens anymore for the purposes of rejigging the vote. So Trump holds all the pacing when it comes to what's going on going forward. And that's why all of this enthusiasm and energy and optimism and narrative and storytelling, I mean, you know, that's Candace's number one trait, is that she's a great storyteller. And the story that she painted on Becoming Brigitte, that caused a lot of people to be interested because there's a narrative. It's a 3-act play. It's kayfabe. It's interesting. And she's very good at it, right? That's why I've been saying from the beginning with Candace Owens, treat it like entertainment. Don't treat it like you're getting the news and you're getting informed. It's fun stuff, except when it isn't. And when she's going around attacking Nick Shirley for dumb, just straight up calling him dumb, it's no longer that entertaining, because what's entertaining about calling someone who's trying to do something that should help America and help people in the world dumb, right? I don't get it. So we're seeing the cracks in this system. We're seeing the psychological operations a lot more clearly, a lot of the spin a lot more clearly. Now, I like Candace Owens. I think she's, I've never seen her go so ad hominem before. I don't like her insulting people. I don't think that's necessary. As someone in her case that gets insulted all the time, usually unjustly. I think that the series she did on Brigitte was a lot of fun and highly entertaining and convincing, but I've warned you of the documentary effect many times. Documentaries are the least credible form of media. That's why you shouldn't take them seriously. Documentaries are generally there to persuade you as a primary function. So seeing all this and seeing that the storytellers like Nick Shirley, right? Nick Shirley, another storyteller, another person using these platforms to get narratives to catch on and move forward, but are of a lot more of a optimistic point of view. You know, Nick Shirley's not trying to expose this stuff to run America into the ground. He's trying to save America, I think, by what he's doing. So all these narratives and storytelling capacities and all of these narrative and storytelling orchestrations are really the war you're in. And the war you're in, luckily, we're seeing people like Nick Shirley and Grok and all of these tools come online to empower individual storytellers a lot more and weaken the systemic corporate version of narrative deployment. And the next big field, I believe, is going to be in the entertainment stuff, which is why I always talk about the AI capacity that's coming from all of these incredible tools that are out there. And you can see already that, Bitcoiners getting together are already with our live events, helping each other. Here's the MetaPlanet meeting yesterday, the annual general meeting in Yokohama. Samson Mao pointing out, very impressed with Agarovich and the entire MetaPlanet team for putting on today's events. It's really a testament to the strength of their community. They can bring a few thousand people to Yokohama on a random thing yesterday. So luckily, these P2P information communities, all of these folks getting way more powered up, leveled up, and it's going to get even better. That's why I go on about all these movie tools, because we're going to have to. They've destroyed now 2 of the great wizarding stories. This first story, HBO, with the new trailer for Harry Potter coming out yesterday. Right away, you can see the race swapping of Hermione and Snape are going to cause tremendous problems for the story. They completely rewrite the story. It's not just about race swapping. It's about, obviously, white guilt again. It's not true about how much money they're spending on it, but here from BitPain, I'm once again reminding you that people don't hate racially diverse casting. They hate 1, double standards, 2, badly made films, and 3, the injection of leftist political messaging in every single piece of media. The race bending of Snape and Hermione checks all the boxes, but it's most egregious because of 3. Hermione spends the majority of the films being called a mudblood by the blonde white kid. Snape is likewise bullied, ostracized, and distrusted, accused of crimes he did not commit, literally strung up and tortured by a bunch of white boys after being rejected by the white girl he had a crush on. Casting a mixed-race girl to play Hermione and a black guy to play Snape inserts obvious modern racial political overtones into all of the interactions that distract from the story and the characters. That these 2 characters in particular were race-bended while others were recast as virtual carbon copies means the decision cannot credibly be given the benefit of the doubt. So I made a prediction when this was first announced. This is going to be the best show ever. I take it all back. No one's going to fucking give a shit about this thing. It's going to be terrible, unwatchable. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to watch this either. Apparently they have a sequel of Lord of the Rings, and it's going to be Stephen fucking Colbert writing it. Did you see this? The sequel to the Lord of the Rings trilogy is officially in the works. Plot synopsis, blah, blah, blah. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But it's Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert is going to be writing it. Stephen Colbert, the worst ever. This guy's thing is the right thing. Who's going to watch any of this? Nobody. These independent-made films cannot come soon enough. I think they'll be just in time. I think you'll even see maybe a AI race-swapped edit of the Harry Potter show, which will probably be way better. They'll probably alter Snape and Hermione so that you don't have to have these ridiculous race swap things injected in them, and just no one's going to watch the stupid Lord of the Rings written by Stephen Colbert after he got fired from his stupid, terrible show that no one likes. So that's what's going on. Theater, all that stuff, kayfabe, we're going to win. No other choice. Let's see what folks are saying. Let me go back here. Let's see. Where are we? I'll go right back to, there we go. Ball gets whacked by my missiles. Gee, not aware of the biblical reference. The world is a psychological disorder operation, testing our faith and resolve for love, joy, and peace, the gifts of the Spirit, and tested by faithfulness, long suffering, indeed. Chef Zero talking about what's going on in Tel Aviv. I got people there too. I mean, I hear not great, but it's not like collapsed. People, and they're definitely shell shocked. That's for sure. I mean, I don't deny that. But again, that should take away the idea that America is getting blackmailed. You think Israel wants this? You think this is a lot of fun for Israelis? Like they tricked America into helping them get bombed. It makes no sense. It literally makes no sense. That's what I don't understand about why trick America into getting Israel bombed. I mean, it makes no sense, right? So there you go. Stupid Apple ship. Yeah, no kidding. I do it for the Choctaw. I'm considering moving to Iran after that lovely preview. Yes, it was an AI fake and a live forgery. Don't answer phone calls ever. No. Oh, there's Hank in the house. All right, folks. I'll get to some of your comments when I sign off. Let's see what Hank is saying. How you doing, Hank?
Hey, Nolan, just snuck in there before the 55 ended, so I wasn't too late. How are you guys this morning?
We're enthusiastic. We're again charting the Iran war situation.
Yeah.
What's going on in Ukraine and Russia? Some oil stuff getting bombed there. Analyzing the incentive models, looking around corners, seeing if any of the market stuff and commercial relationships in the field explain where things are and where things are headed. Then we moved on a little bit to just at the end here, just the power of persuasion and what's going on with narrative selling, let's say, and what we're seeing in particular from the new media that's coming out. We talked a little bit about the Lord of the Rings and the Harry Potter trailers dropping yesterday. And
yeah.
not
Think about
good.
those. No, I thought the Harry Potter looked really uninspired. I don't like the cut of the new kid's jib. I don't like
the
it.
color. I loved the way the last one, the movies, went bright to dark.
Yeah.
And this is just dark right away. Like, I don't get it. And the race swapping stuff is going to be a problem. I mean, it's going to be a problem. Like, I don't mind race swapping in a movie, but when it fully injects political overtones into it, I mean, the hanging Snape from a tree, there's no way that's not going to get interpreted as...
That's a great point. That's a great point.
It's called a mudblood every minute by the blonde kid. And now I get there is an allusion to it, but it's going to take over the story. And and then Stephen Colbert doing the new Lord of the Rings. What?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in today's world. He's got time though, because isn't the Late Show ending, right? So he's got to do something.
Nobody's gonna watch it. It's gonna
nobody's watching those late night shows either. So par for the course for that right now.
So the independent AI movies can't come soon enough because this stuff is not gonna cook. It's not.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the AI Harry Potter Lord of the Rings crossover. Maybe then I can get into that fantastical stuff. I have a hard time buying into that.
That would be really good. That would be really
that I could be here for. All right, speaking of here for, I know we got you on the show in just a bit, so rock some TV news coming up right after Nolan's show here, gang. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about what's going on with the SpaceX IPO. Fannie Mae is backing Bitcoin. There's a lot of stuff. Iran, obviously. So I'll let you finish up with your gang here. Stay tuned. Rock some TV news. We'll be coming your way just after Nolan's show. Hope to see you there.
Awesome, man. All right, you heard Hank, everyone. See you in a minute, Hank.
See ya.
We're wrapping up here, and I'll be over on Hank's show in just a minute, and I'll play the logo in a second, followed by the thanks for watching screen. Just want to get to a couple more comments. Here you go. Synergies of educational content, just soak it in. Always so much information in these daily shows. I was right. Great show. Thanks, CV Van. That's correct, Deb. I asked Spirit of God the other day, saying, and you let those creatures loose in the universe. Lord, what were you thinking? Sounds super gay. Not good. It's not good, those TV shows. They're not going to be good. There you go. So plenty of comments. Pardon me, I can't get to all of them. I'm going to play the logo now, followed by the thanks for watching screen. I want to tell you thanks for watching. Peace out, everybody. See you tomorrow, Friday.